Yo, what's the word, chat? It's your boy Mixed by Bam back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over an SSL console mixing technique used by a lot of platinum engineers for the past 30 or so years, such as Dr. J, Mixed by Ali, and a lot more engineers. This technique was popularized by Dr. J, I'd say the most. It was a technique that he used on his album The Chronic for pretty much every single song that he mixed on there, and it's one of the reasons why he got those mixes to sound so punchy and so clean at the same time. Obviously, there's more to his mixing that made it sound clean, but this technique is really more so towards the punchy side and getting better control of your mix and things of that nature. So we're basically just going to be going over this technique and how to do it and different ways that you could control this technique. Um, Before I get further into the video, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support on my first video. We got like almost 200 views, like 25 likes, and like 10, 15 comments. So it means a lot. I really appreciate the support. And thank you guys for watching the videos. I really hope to make better and more videos in the future. And yeah, let's just get into it. So we're going to be using a couple different examples to show off this technique. So I'm going to be showing a kick drum, a snare drum, a full drum set, and then a beat that I produced like a year and a half ago. And we're going to use it on those as an example. This technique is really, really good for drums and full mixes pre-mastering. You don't want to do this during mastering. You want to leave the mastering part up to yourself or the mastering engineer, depending on your song, of course. But yeah, all you're going to need to do this method is you need a console emulation for this, specifically the SSL, since this technique was really built upon the SSL, and the plugin has to have a preamp built into it. So I'm going to be using this plugin, the SSL 4KE. So the E console out of the 4000 series of the SSL. Like I said, as long as your plugin has a preamp on it like this, you can use it. There's plenty other brands. I'm using the official Solid State Logic, but you can use Universal Audio. You can use Waves as long as they have a preamp on it. Other examples of the plugins, such as the Waves one, could be the SSL EV. So this one, this is another one. This is by Waves, but this is another console plugin that also has a preamp built into it right here, as you can see. And yeah, so basically, we're just gonna go through the things and show you guys. So let's do it. So this is the kick that we have. So yeah, this is the kick that we have. So this is what you're gonna do. So you're going to take your plugin and you're gonna make sure the preamp is on the plugin of your console. So as you can see, it is on because it's flashing red. So we have it on, and you're just gonna play your signal, and as it's playing, you're just gonna boost the preamp until you have enough distortion and crunch and you can hear the sound clipping, and you can see the little red flashing indicator right here that it is flashing red. Once this little thing is flashing red, you've officially clipped the signal and you'll get some sort of distortion or saturation. So as you can hear, we're now clipping and you can see it's flashing red. So I'm just gonna bring this back to a more suitable sound because I feel like this sounds a little too crunchy and distorted for me. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. Now all we're gonna do is we're gonna take the output trim. So this would be here. You're gonna either have an output trim or you're gonna have to use the fader to boost it back up to match the level on the meter. Because if you look, without it enabled, you can see we're peaking at 6. So you obviously want to bring it back and match the level that it was before. So let's do that. Okay, so now it's hitting around the same, and we're just gonna do an A and B comparison of what it sounds like without this technique and then what it sounds like with this technique, and pay attention to the meter as well as you're listening so you can see how the levels are hitting different, but how we're still at the same level, if that makes sense. They're gonna have a little bit of a different dynamic range, but they're both gonna be peaking at 6, which is what we want. The same level, but more punchy and more volume. So let's just listen and see. So first we'll do without it. Now, if you pay attention to the meter, you can see peaking at 6. Now, if I turn it on, now you could clearly see on the meter is basically around the same level, but as you can hear with this preamp and this technique, you can see that it's hitting at the same level, but it sounds much, much more louder and is bringing way more distortion and oomph into the sound and more power. Now, the reason why we use this output to level is because we're getting clean signal back in by matching it. However, there's another way that you can bring it to level, which is going to add a slightly different character, which is if you use the line or the input trim, which is this knob. Now, if we were to match the gain using the input, we'd actually be adding even more distortion because the input is directly connected to the preamp and the harmonics and circuitry that it's modeling. So if we were to bring this back down to 0 and then bring the input to 8 and then play it, you're going to hear that now with the input being the signal that's matching it to gain, it's going to add even more distortion and a little bit of a sound. Now, obviously, you want to be careful with this and you want to be up to it. If you use the output trim, you'll just have it clean and it'll sound like that, how it does with the preamp. But if you use the input, you're going to add even a little bit more distortion than you already have. Right? Now I'm going to bring this back and I'm going to bring it to 8 on the output. Now that's with the output, now with the in. Now, if you notice with the input version match gaining it is adding just a little bit more of this dirtiness. So that's something to keep in mind, and just more of a creative decision you should use and understand when using this technique in a real mixing situation. So I'm just going to turn this off and let's move on to the snare. Now we're going to do the same thing with the snare, but this time we're going to try and get a little less level out the snare. If you can see, the snare is peaking a little bit above 9. We're going to try and get it peaking just at 9 while making it sound more crunchy and louder if we can, using this technique. So we're going to enable that preamp as we did earlier, and we're just going to boost it until we hear that crunch and it flashes red. Okay, so now we're just going to bring the output up. Okay, now it's peaking at exactly 9, instead of being above 9. And let's listen to the difference. Now, if you have headphones on or you're using your studio speakers, studio monitors, you could really feel how the air of that snare is really just smacking into way harder than without using this technique. And honestly, I think on this snare specifically, this sounds really good. I'd probably use this with these exact settings that I have it now in a real mix situation, because this sounds very good and powerful, and it really just has that kick to it. And as you can see on the meter, we have an even more controlled signal. Now, one thing to keep in mind when using this technique is you don't want to overdo it crazy, because when you do, you'll lose dynamics, and we'll show an example of that later on. But yeah, now let's go use this on the drums, and we're gonna show you more so what this is doing on an analyzer as well with the full drum set. So let's listen to the drum set. So yeah, those are the drums we have, and I'm just gonna pull up this EQ, and we're gonna back out this analyzer, and we're going to do some live mixing while looking at the analyzer. So let's do it without this. And just pay attention to the frequencies on the analyzer. All right, now we're gonna turn that preamp on, and let's use the input for this example as well to match gain it. Now listen to the difference and look at the difference visually as well. Now we're just gonna play it first without the effect, and pay attention to the analyzer. Now with it. Now, if you notice without it, if you see in this high end right here, and you notice the kick and the way that the hi-hat is coming up, the open hat, you'll see that's kind of going up, and there's not really anything past 10 kilohertz. But when we turn this on, you see it's peaking higher. That's peaking a little higher. And we're adding frequencies, we're adding harmonics using this technique. As you can see, we now have frequencies above 10K being generated just by using this technique, which is adding more life and body to the sound. And as you can see on the meter here, we're actually losing gain, but it sounds louder, perceived to be louder. Now let's take a look at how the waveforms change. So I have it equipped. So I'm just going to consolidate this. And if we take a look at these waveforms, as you can see by looking at the waves, visually they look a tiny bit bigger and a more squashed, which, like I said, is something that you have to keep in mind. You can easily crush your dynamics doing this, but I'm just showing you guys examples and trying to teach you guys so you can understand. So this is what it looks like at the top with the effect and the technique, and then at the bottom just dry without the effect and the technique. As you can see, there's a little difference, and these ones are more squared in this complex waveform as compared to this, where they're a little more dynamic but also look a little smaller. Now if we level these, you can see even though this looks about the same on the peaking, these parts of the waves are still way bigger. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Now let's do finally the beat and a full mix and see how it sounds. So this is the instrumental. I'll play a little bit of it first. So yeah, we're just going to do it on this. Now with full mixes, you want to be careful and you don't want to overdo this because you can easily lose all the dynamics in your mix, and you can easily just make your mix sound very muddy, and we don't want to do that. So we're just going to do this as well as we can without ruining the sound of the actual beat and the mix. Now without the effect, and now with it. Oh my goodness, my computer lagged. My bad, guys. It just makes your mix hit harder. You know what I'm saying? It just makes it a little more upfront. The entire mix, it just feels a little more upfront. It feels a tiny bit wider, and it feels a little more punchy. So yeah, this is basically the mixing technique. If you guys have any questions, any comments, or any suggestions for my next video, or anything that has to do with help for this, or just anything audio in general, just leave a comment or you can message me. My socials are in the description along with everything else and information for the video. And yeah, guys, that's basically the SSL console mixing technique. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in and watching the videos, showing support, showing love. It means a lot. And I just want to say thank you, guys. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. And yeah, peace out.